You spent an hour on your hands and knees in your driveway, application pad soaking wet, arms burning, meticulously working that $30 ceramic glass sealant across every square inch of your windshield in perfect overlapping circles, exactly the way the bottle told you to, buffing it off with a fresh microfiber until the glass looked absolutely flawless in the afternoon light, completely crystal clear, smoother than anything you had ever touched, and you stood back and genuinely felt proud of yourself because you did everything right and you knew it. Then the sun went down. You got in the car that same night, clicked the wipers on the moment a light drizzle started, and the second those blades dragged across your freshly sealed windshield, you wanted to scream. A violent smear of blinding holographic light exploded across your entire field of vision. Every oncoming headlight fractured into a dozen ghostly streaks. Every street lamp became a starburst of blurry rainbow light that your eyes could not process fast enough to drive safely. You hit the washer fluid, hoping it would clear, and it made it catastrophically worse, turning the windshield into a greasy carnival mirror that caught every light source on the road and threw it directly into your retinas. You pulled over. You sat there in the dark with the wipers running and watched your $30 and your entire Saturday afternoon smear back and forth across the glass in a hypnotic, useless, dangerous haze. That sickening feeling you had in that moment, that specific combination of wasted money, wasted time, genuine anger, and real road safety fear, that is not an accident. That is the product working exactly as designed. Not working as in performing its hydrophobic function, working as in keeping you trapped in a cycle where you blame yourself, assume you applied it wrong, go online, read the forum posts from people who swear by it, and then go buy the next bottle. I am going to end that cycle right now with a bottle that costs $1 and sits on the cleaning supplies aisle of every grocery store in the country. And the chemistry behind it is so much more powerful than anything being sold in the automotive section that once you understand what is actually happening at the molecular level on your glass, you will feel a very specific and very satisfying kind of anger toward an industry that has been deliberately keeping this from you. Here is the truth about every premium automotive glass sealant currently on the market, and it does not matter if the bottle says ceramic infused or nanohydrophobic or professional grade or any of the other rotating vocabulary. These companies use to justify their pricing. The primary functional chemistry in almost every single one of these products is silicone. Specifically, a diluted silicone compound suspended in volatile carrier solvents. When you apply the product and buff it out, what you are actually doing is allowing those carrier solvents to evaporate off the surface, leaving behind a microscopically thin film of silicone sitting on top of the glass. That is the entire product. That is what $30 buys you. A temporary silicone film that does not bond to glass in any meaningful chemical sense, that sits on the surface like an uninvited guest, that the UV radiation from the sun begins breaking down within the first 2 weeks of exposure, that the thermal cycling of your glass expanding and contracting every single morning and night begins physically fracturing into patches within the first month, and that degrades unevenly across the surface because silicone has absolutely no structural integrity under real-world automotive conditions. What replaces it? The answer is sitting in the cleaning aisle under your feet. An acrylic liquid floor wax, a product that retails for $1, sometimes less. A product that professional floor care specialists use to protect high-traffic commercial surfaces from grinding foot traffic, heavy cartwheels, chemical spills, and industrial cleaning equipment, because the polymer technology inside it does something that automotive silicone products are chemically incapable of doing, and that difference is going to change the way you take care of your vehicle permanently. These detailing companies did not accidentally land on an inferior chemistry. They chose it. They chose silicone because silicone degrades. They chose a product that gives you a visible result on day one, a beautiful beading effect that photographs perfectly for their marketing materials, and then quietly fails over the following weeks in a way that feels gradual enough that you cannot point to a single moment and say the product stopped working. It just gets worse slowly. The water beading becomes less dramatic, the sheets become less clean. You start noticing the wiper chatter again. You tell yourself it has been a while, time for a reapplication, and you go back to the shelf. This is not negligence, this is architecture. The entire premium glass sealant category is architecturally designed for repurchase. The 60-day degradation window is not a limitation of the chemistry. Silicone that actually bonds permanently to glass exists. They do not use it. They use the kind that needs to be reapplied every 4 to 6 weeks, because a customer who reapplies every 4 to 6 weeks is worth 12 times more per year than a customer who applies once and never comes back. These companies did not build glass sealants, they built subscription products and hid the subscription in the chemistry. And while they have been collecting your $30 every couple of months and filling their bottles with the same basic silicone compound they have been using since the 90s, the actual solution has been sitting in a dollar bottle with a picture of a shiny floor on the label, completely invisible to you because it was never marketed toward your car. Subscribe right now if you are done funding this and you want to know every other product category in automotive detailing where the same exact switch has been pulled on you, because windshield sealant is far from the only one, and the rabbit hole goes deep. Now let us talk about what is actually happening on your glass at a level these detailing brands desperately hope you never think about. Glass at the microscopic level is not a smooth surface. Under magnification, automotive glass looks like a landscape of tiny craters, pits, and channels etched into the surface by silica crystallization, by abrasion, by the constant mechanical friction of your wiper blades, and by the chemical etching of acid rain and bird-dropping deposits over time. This textured microscopic topography is what makes glass so difficult to protect. Any product that simply coats the top of this surface without penetrating into those pores will wear away from the high points of the texture first, leaving the valleys exposed, creating that patchy hydrophobic failure pattern you have almost certainly experienced. This is exactly what silicone does. It rests on top of the peaks and gets mechanically scraped away every single time your wiper blade passes over the surface. Liquid acrylic floor wax operates on a completely different physical principle. The acrylic polymer chains in floor wax are small enough and their surface tension is low enough that when applied to warm glass, they flow down into those microscopic pits and channels and anchor there. As the water-based carrier evaporates off, the polymer chains cross-link with each other and with the silica surface beneath them, forming a three-dimensional network that is not sitting on the glass but is physically interlocked with the glass structure. The resulting surface is not a coating in the conventional sense. It is a composite material, glass with acrylic polymers woven into its surface texture. The hydrophobic behavior you get from this is not a surface property that wears away. It is a structural property of the treated surface itself. Water contacts this composite material and finds absolutely nothing to bond with. No hydroxyl groups, no polar sites, no capillary channels to wick into. The contact angle of water on a properly treated windshield approaches 90 degrees, meaning water droplets sit on the surface in nearly perfect spheres, and the aerodynamic pressure of the vehicle moving forward at any speed above 20 miles per hour is enough to launch them off the glass entirely without the wipers touching them at all. Your $30 silicone spray cannot get within 40 degrees of that contact angle after its first week on the vehicle. Since we are being honest about chemistry today, let us be completely honest about what happens when your silicone automotive sealant meets the single most common substance it will encounter on a working windshield, which is windshield washer fluid. Standard blue windshield washer fluid found at every gas station and auto parts store contains isopropyl alcohol or ethanol as its primary active ingredient, alongside water and a small amount of detergent. When this fluid contacts a silicone-based sealant, the alcohol component does not just fail to protect the silicone, it actively attacks it. Alcohols are excellent solvents for low molecular weight silicone compounds and silicone carrier oils. Every time you spray washer fluid and drag your wipers across a silicone-treated windshield, you are performing a small but meaningful strip of the very sealant you paid to apply. This is why silicone sealants develop that characteristic patchy degradation pattern rather than wearing away uniformly. The wiper sweep zone, where washer fluid contacts the glass, repeatedly degrades fastest, while the edges and corners where the blade barely reaches maintain whatever silicone was left there. The result is an uneven surface with zones of different hydrophobicity, and an uneven hydrophobic surface is the precise physical condition that causes wiper chatter. The wiper blade transitions between areas of high and low friction dozens of times per sweep, and that friction differential causes the blade to grab, skip, and vibrate across the glass. Over time, this mechanical abuse literally tears the rubber wiping edge of the blade, creating the micro tears and hardened ridges that turn a previously acceptable wiper into a squeaking, streaking, vision-destroying piece of rubber that you replace and then blame for the streaking problem when the actual culprit is the patchy chemistry underneath it. You do not have a wiper blade problem. You have a chemistry problem. And the chemistry problem costs you wiper blades every season on top of the cost of the sealant itself. Before you go near your windshield with the acrylic floor wax, there is one preparation step that is not optional, not a suggestion, and not something you can rush or approximate. It is the step that determines whether this treatment works flawlessly or whether you create a problem that takes a metal razor blade to fix, and I will explain exactly why at the molecular level so that the gravity of it sticks with you permanently. You must strip the glass to an absolutely bare, chemically neutral surface before applying the acrylic polymer. Not clean, bare. Those are meaningfully different states. A clean windshield that you washed with car wash soap and dried with a microfiber is not bare glass. Car wash soap leaves behind a thin conditioning agent residue engineered to reduce water spotting during the drying process. That residue is organic in nature, it coats the microscopic pits of the glass surface, and when fast-curing acrylic polymers flow into those pits and cross-link, they will cross-link around and through that organic residue, encapsulating it permanently inside the cured polymer matrix. Traffic film, the hydrocarbon haze that accumulates on windshields from exhaust particles and road spray, will do exactly the same thing. Old silicone sealant residue will interfere with the cross-linking geometry of the new acrylic polymers and create zones of dramatically reduced adhesion that appear as foggy, yellowed patches. Any of these contaminants, whether left there intentionally or inadvertently, will be locked in place by the curing polymers and will not be removable by washing, by solvent wiping, or by reapplication of more wax. The only remediation for a contaminated acrylic cure is physical abrasion, meaning a metal razor blade or clay bar used aggressively enough to physically grind away the contaminated polymer layer, which risks scratching the glass and will absolutely require you to start the entire process over. The preparation step takes 5 minutes and costs nothing. The remediation step, if you skip preparation, takes 45 minutes and costs you real effort and real risk. Use pure isopropyl alcohol at 90% concentration or higher on a clean microfiber cloth. Work in small sections. You are looking for the cloth to drag with a very slight resistance and squeak as it moves, which is the physical sensation of the alcohol cutting through organic residue and leaving behind bare silica. When the cloth moves freely and silently, that section is bare. Work every inch of the glass, including the edges and the corners behind the mirror mount where contamination hides. Do not touch the treated surface with your bare hands after stripping. Skin oils are enough to create a contamination site. Keep the clean microfiber between your skin and the glass until the wax is applied and cured. The application itself requires no special tools and no special talent. You need a clean microfiber applicator pad, dry, not damp. Place exactly 5 drops of the liquid acrylic floor wax onto the pad. Not a puddle, not a heavy soak, 5 drops. The product is water-based and the carrier evaporates quickly, which means working in a shaded area at moderate temperature is necessary. Direct sunlight on hot glass will flash cure the product before the polymers have completed their migration into the microscopic surface texture, leaving you with a surface coating rather than the structural composite bond you want. Start at one corner of the windshield and work in a tight crosshatch pattern. Horizontal strokes first, then vertical strokes over the same area, using light to moderate pressure and keeping your strokes overlapping by about 50%. The crosshatch pattern ensures that every square millimeter of glass receives polymer contact from 2 directions, maximizing the density of the cured network. You will see a very thin, slightly milky haze develop on the glass as you work. This is normal and correct. It means the carrier is beginning to evaporate and the polymer chains are beginning to orient themselves toward the surface. Allow this haze to develop for 3 to 4 minutes. You will know it is ready to buff when touching the hazed area with a dry fingertip leaves no smear. Take a clean, dry, microfiber buffing cloth and work the haze off in circular motions with moderate pressure. The glass will clarify as you buff, and when fully buffed, the clarity should be equal to or better than pre-treatment because the filled surface pores scatter less ambient light than the unfilled pores did. Run your hand across the finished surface. If you feel any residue or tackiness, buff that area again with a fresh section of the microfiber. The finished surface should feel perfectly smooth, completely dry, and have an almost frictionless quality that is noticeably different from untreated glass. Now run water across it. Watch what happens. That is not a surface treatment, that is physics. The contrast between what you just applied and what the automotive detailing industry has been selling you in progressively fancier packaging is not subtle. On one side, $30 to $60 for a product containing diluted silicone compounds in a branded bottle with a certificate number and a marketing claim about nanotechnology, a product that begins degrading within 2 weeks of UV exposure, that gets chemically stripped by the washer fluid you use every single day, that creates uneven hydrophobic zones that generate the wiper chatter that destroys your rubber blades, that requires reapplication every 4 to 6 weeks to maintain even a fraction of its day one performance, and that will cost you the equivalent of $200 to $300 per year if you actually follow the reapplication schedule they recommend. On the other side, $1. A single dollar. A bottle of liquid acrylic floor wax that contains cross-linking polymer technology designed to survive conditions that would destroy any automotive silicone product, that bonds structurally to your glass rather than sitting on top of it, that resists alcohol-based washer fluid without degrading because cured acrylic polymers are not soluble in the concentration of alcohol present in commercial washer products, that provides months of genuine hydrophobic performance without reapplication, that costs you pennies per windshield per treatment, and that the detailing industry hopes you never connect to your automotive glass because the day you do, you stop being their customer. If you know someone who is currently spending real money on rain repellent sprays, on ceramic glass coatings, on any of the premium glass sealant products being marketed toward car owners right now, share this video with them immediately. Not because it is content worth sharing for the sake of views, because you will literally be saving them money today. Because every month they go without knowing this, they are spending $30 they do not need to spend and damaging wiper blades they do not need to replace. Send it to the person in your life who takes their car the most seriously, because that person is almost certainly the one getting charged the most by an industry that profits from their passion and their